From the breaking news that we've had across our area, here's what I can tell you. No two storm systems are the same. We do have a chance for severe weather tomorrow night, but it is not going to be a repeat of Friday. It will bring its own unique flavor, and we'll get through it. First raindrop to the last, like we always do. It's 83 right now. It's very warm, much warmer than it was yesterday. Cloudy conditions across the area. Nothing is expected from the clouds right now. So we've got a peaceful night tonight. Even the first half of your Wednesday is going to be quiet. What we're waiting on is a cold front that's way out west. It's across Kansas, Oklahoma, and portions of Texas. This is going to intensify today, and unfortunately, our neighbors to the west, our neighbors to the north that were also under the bullseye on Friday, they look to get a pretty significant punch of severe weather from Arkansas to southwest Missouri up into Iowa. This risk will decrease as it moves towards us tomorrow, but it's not going to fall apart completely. We'll talk more about the timing, the impacts, coming up in just a bit.
Make sure you have multiple ways to be alerted about severe weather. A third tornado siren has been listed as inoperable. Nashville's Office of Emergency Management says April testing of the sirens revealed another that needs repairs. That one is at 301 Berry Street. The others are located at Zero Conference Drive and the intersection of McCrory Lane and Newsom Station Road. You can always download our free Storm Shield app to get alerts straight to your phone.
3 Democratic lawmakers who used a megaphone during a floor session last week to engage with demonstrators could be expelled from the Tennessee House as early as Thursday. The process to do so began late last night, right there on the House floor. News Channel 5's Chris Davis is joining us now with details on what comes next.
Carrie, it's been a chaotic few days on the Hill. Last Thursday, of course, what we're talking about with all these 3 lawmakers. Then even last night, it got a little choppy on the floor where you had some lawmakers shoving each other over an incident involving the actual filing of these motions involving these 3 lawmakers. Let's look ahead now to this upcoming Thursday when these 3 lawmakers will be able to defend themselves on why they shouldn't be expelled from the House, and their fellow colleagues that are pushing for this will get a chance to make their case on why they should. Now let's bring you back up to speed on how all this happened Thursday morning, the same day that hundreds of students protested at the Capitol for gun control reforms. Knoxville Representative Gloria Johnson, Memphis Representative Justin Pearson, and Nashville Representative Justin Jones decided after they weren't called on to acknowledge gun reforms and the demonstrators there earlier in the session, they would go up to the well with a megaphone and lead chants in between bills. Republican House leadership is now pushing to expel all 3 members for disorderly conduct. Under Tennessee House rules, they need a supermajority of 2/3 votes, which Republicans have if most of their caucus votes in favor. The question we wanted answered today, if these lawmakers are expelled, can they run for their same seat again? For that answer, we turn to longtime Nashville attorney David Rabin.
If a legislator is expelled, they run for election again, and they are elected, they could not be expelled for the same behavior because the Constitution itself says that they cannot be tried or expelled for the same conduct a second time.
Representative Gloria Johnson has also floated the idea of potentially filing a lawsuit against Tennessee House Republicans that are pushing this measure to begin with. We asked David Rabin, would a lawsuit like that stand up in court? You will hear his answer coming up tonight at 5. Meanwhile, my colleague Phil Williams got the chance to sit down one-on-one with Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton about this whole ordeal. Phil, what did he have to say?
Well, good afternoon, Chris. As lawmakers head toward what will certainly be a contentious vote on Thursday, Speaker Cameron Sexton made no apologies for his defiant stand, insisting a price must be paid. Now, this was the view of the protests on the House floor from video that Sexton retweeted in the last few days. The Crossroad Republican told me that if this type of conduct is not punished, this could become the new norm in the state legislature.
They're the ones who have done something that's never happened, and they're the ones that pulled out a megaphone on the House floor and led a protest to the gallery, which shut us down.
What is your opinion? Should they be expelled?
My opinion, they should be expelled.
If they are expelled, that's about 200,000 Tennesseans who will not have representation on this upcoming debate. Are you comfortable with that?
Their actions made that happen.
Now, we had a wide-ranging conversation about what kinds of laws should be considered to respond to the Covenant School shooting. You'll hear that at 5. Then at 6, I had some tough questions for Speaker Sexton on why he has said that what happened on the House floor might be worse than the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Carrie?
Phil, thank you. And now back to our breaking news. Former President Donald Trump making history today, becoming the first former president in U.S. history to be charged with a crime.
The charges stem from his alleged role in hush money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels. 5 Alert anchor Hunter Hoagland is following the story. Hunter, what's the latest?
Hey, Vicki. Former President Donald Trump left the Manhattan courthouse today after he was arraigned on 34 counts of falsifying business records. He pleaded not guilty to all of it. The indictment alleges that the former president sought to undermine the integrity of the 2016 election. Prosecutors say Trump worked to suppress negative information to enhance his candidacy, including what they say was an illegal payment to Stormy Daniels. Here this morning, Trump was booked where his fingerprints were taken and was then read the charges against him. Here's what his attorney had to say.
His reaction was exactly what would happen if it happened to anybody that I'm looking at now or anybody that's hearing what you're saying. He's frustrated, he's upset, but I'll tell you what, he's motivated, and it's not going to stop him, and it's not going to slow him down.
Donald Trump and his team will be back in court for another in-person hearing this December. He left the courthouse this morning where he is now on his way back to Florida. He's expected to talk about all of it tonight from his Mar-a-Lago home where he'll be joined by other supporters. We'll let you know what he says. Vicki and Carrie, back to you.
Thanks, Hunter. Still ahead, more parents are rethinking their child's education.
When we come back, why parents believe homeschooling may be a better option following the Covenant School shooting.
A mother and newborn reunite after being separated following the deadly Turkey earthquake. The tearful reunion months in the making.
And the greatest golfers are facing off in this year's Masters tournament. Our Steve Lehman reports from Augusta.
Warm, quiet conditions expected tonight, stormy conditions expected tomorrow. We'll take a look at the details, what to be prepared for in your holiday weekend. Next.
And it's time for that 5 Live traffic update. Let's take a look. If you're going to Clarksville, it's going to take you longer to get there today, 50 minutes, and 58 if you're heading to the borough.
Slow day on the roads if you're headed down south I-65 towards Franklin, a 26-minute drive, 30 with lots of stop and go action on I-40 east out to Mount Juliet and 40 to Dixon. Stay with us. We're headed right back.
Metro Police are on the scene on Dickerson Pike after a driver opened fire on police following a traffic stop. Police say the driver of this car attempted to get away from police but crashed a short time later, then pulled a gun and began shooting. 3 officers returned fire and amazingly no one was injured. The suspect, though, is in custody. Last week's shooting at the Covenant School has more parents thinking about pulling their kids from private and public schools and opting for homeschooling.
News Channel 5's Alexandra Cohen talked to one of them on how they're reevaluating their children's education.
Following the Covenant School shooting, Blakely Wynn heard about it on the news with her mom.
My school's dead.
They were recording a video of their cats when Blakely became overwhelmed with emotion.
You homeschool me.
3 of the school shooting victims were 9 years old. Blakely told me she wanted to share the video because she wants the public to know how students feel right now. And now she's begging her mom to homeschool.
And the pros is you don't have to worry about your kid getting murdered at school. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible that you have to worry about that.
It's something Emily Wynn is discussing with her husband.
Homeschooling, I don't want to have to do that because I don't want her to miss out on things. There's sports, there's social interaction.
But she says Blakely has come home from school anxious and with tummy aches recently.
She'll hear something outside and she automatically ducks.
At home, Blakely feels safe.
God is in control. And we can't live in fear. And if you live in fear, you're letting the devil win. But at the same time, you have to be vigilant.
Emily and her family have moved out of town, but she used to live by Covenant and went to the church a couple times.
It all hits really close to home. And I think anybody that has a 9-year-old right now is feeling it extra.
Before the next school year, parents have a lot of tough decisions to make.
Every time, you drop your kid off at school, I spend the entire day. All you can do is pray.
Reporting in Nashville, Alexandra Cohen, News Channel 5.
It is heavy for parents.
It really is.
You send those children off every day expecting to get them back.
Get them back. But as a parent, it really is hard to talk to young kids about it, but it's better that they hear it first from you than someone else. Well, there's one thing golfers and golf fans can agree upon. A trip to the Masters is as good as it gets.
But what happens when the invitation to a golfer gets sent to a regular fan instead? Our Steve Lehman has the story from Augusta.
Scott Stallings last played the Masters in 2014, so after qualifying for this year's tournament, the former Tennessee Tech star was eagerly checking his mail, looking for that official invitation to return here to Augusta National.
I was looking for it for a while. Everything that happened surrounding it was just sort of surreal.
The invitation never came. Instead, it was delivered to the Georgia address of another Scott Stallings, a realtor on St. Simon's Island.
Concern wasn't the real thing because I had been here twice in November and was preparing to play the tournament. I just thought my wife had it and she was trying to surprise me.
Scott Stallings, the realtor, is a huge golf fan who originally hoped he'd won the Masters ticket lottery. After he realized he hadn't, he reached out to the golfer to arrange an exchange.
Just the excitement of receiving anything from Augusta National and then kind of hearing the back and forth of him thinking that that was his tickets. And it was a ticket, I guess, just a different kind.
The two met for the first time Sunday with the golfer delivering tickets to his new biggest fan. And now Stallings turns his attention to his third Masters appearance.
To be a participant and it's not something that's taken lightly, but at the end of the day, it's still golf. And you try to focus and prepare as much as you possibly can, but still enjoy it too.
So the story has a happy ending, with both men enjoying a trip to the Masters, an event the golfer says is an event everyone should experience at least once. In Augusta, Georgia, Steve Lehman, News Channel 5 Sports.
Happy ending for everybody.
Yes. Yeah. All right, we need to get the details for tomorrow. Could be a bumpy ride again.
Yeah, so and the number one thing I want folks to know with this one is we've been saying that this front was likely going to pump the brakes as it moves. Sure. As it slows down, the threat will transition. So early on as the storms arrive, wind and hail are going to be our primary concerns with this one. Hail isn't terribly common in Tennessee, but it does look like we've got the ingredients in place for that to be one of our top concerns for tomorrow night. But by Thursday morning, we're not concerned about wind, we're not concerned about hail, we're actually going to transition our concern to flooding. So this is a long duration event, and depending on where you are in the process as we go through this, will depend on your impacts. Today's severe weather threat is for our neighbors to the west and northwest, also hit hard last Friday. Again, no two storm systems the same, but areas west are dealing with a similar punch. It won't bring us the exact same thing that happened Friday night, but it is going to bring us some storms by this time tomorrow. Level 4 risk from central Arkansas towards Joplin, same thing up towards Iowa. As this moves towards our area tomorrow, that risk decreases. We are in a level 3 for areas in Nashville stretching west and north. And I know that these colors can be a little weird to kind of interpret. A reminder to you of what this means. This threat risk does not represent what type of threat you would encounter, whether it's wind, hail, or a tornado. It represents the likelihood of it. So what you should take from a map like this is that if you are west of Nashville and north, you have the greatest risk of encountering our primary threats. And like I said, our primary threats tomorrow night are going to be straight line wind as high as 60 miles per hour and hail. Again, hail not terribly common for us. It's not impossible as that first batch comes in that we could see a couple isolated tornadoes, but it would be less likely to be encountered. So, wind, hail, top